Hi there, Jonathan Ginsberg here. I want to talk to you about common sense in Social Security disability hearings. And what I'm getting at is that judges are human beings, and they're not going to believe stories that just seem just outlandish and outrageous. And let me give you some examples. I had a hearing one time, this is going back several years ago, where my client claimed that he was in severe back pain. And there was some evidence to suggest he had some significant back problems. But the judge then said, well, tell me about your medications. And then the client testified, well, I really can't afford medications. But what I've done is I've got a friend of mine who has a prescription for Percocet, and when I'm really feeling bad, he'll give me a couple of those. I've got another friend who'll give me hydrocodone. I sometimes will smoke marijuana to deal with the pain. I take a lot of over-the-counter medications, and I just kind of get by, but I'm really in a lot of pain. And again, he may have been in a lot of pain, but judges isn't going to buy that. I mean, what they're expecting to see, if you're in severe pain, that you find a way to get to the doctor, to go to the emergency room, to get your own prescription for medications. And that's doubly true if you have other habits, for example, smoking. And I remember there's one judge that I deal with sometimes that if you smoke, but later on claim you can't afford to go to the doctor, he'll literally say to you, you know, how much does a packet of cigarettes cost and how much are you spending every week? And if you stop smoking, you could afford your medications. So again, common sense type of stuff, and judges are going to really look to that. I had another case years ago where my client said, I'm in terrible back pain, I can't really do anything. The judge says, well, what do you do during the day? And he said, well, my son owns a landscape company, and sometimes I ride along with him and just to get a little fresh air, and we'll go and I'll sit in the truck where he'll do his landscaping for several hours, and then he'll take me home. Or my parents own a shop, and I'll sometimes ride in with them and sit in the back and maybe do a little work, but for the most part I'm lying on a couch in the back. And again, you know, maybe all that's true, but the judge is going to look at it and say, well, you know, if you're able to ride in a truck and sit in a hot sun, even, you know, in the truck for 2 or 3 hours, and you're saying you're not really doing anything, but how do I know what you're really doing? It's just not consistent. I mean, judges expect people in severe back pain to be at home in a recliner trying to get comfortable. But, you know, saying that I'm going, you know, with my son, I'm going with my parents, doing this, that, or the other, it's just not really all that credible. Now, you have to realize judges see people sometimes 6 or 7 hearings, you know, 3 or 4 times a week, and everybody coming in there saying, I'm disabled, pay me. So they're looking for patterns. And if they see patterns of people saying, well, I'm able to do this, I'm able to do that, they tend to assume that you're able to do a little bit more than you say you are. So if you say I'm riding along, or I go in and do 20 minutes of work, you know, do a little bookkeeping, or I do a little, you know, I don't know, cleaning up around the office, something like that, they're going to assume it's not really 20 minutes, that it's 2 or 3 hours, and that, you know, you could possibly do more of it. So I think that you need to be very careful when you talk about doing sort of, you know, piddling around the office and doing a little bit of this, or going with your son or a relative or a friend out in a truck. Really think about that. Talk to your attorney about it to make sure that it just doesn't sound like you are maybe misrepresenting what you're actually doing, that you actually have a little more capacity than you say. Because again, every judge knows that people are coming in because they say they're disabled, and judges are under a lot of pressure these days to only approve cases where the disability is very, very clear. And they also know that their decisions could be reversed by the appeals council without you even knowing about all this if they approve somebody and there is earnings record, if there's evidence that the person's actually doing some work. So common sense is a real issue. And again, put yourself in the judge's shoes. What would you believe? So if you're trying to create an argument that's really just pushing the boundaries of common sense, you know, it could be true, but, you know, it's going to be really a hard sell. No one's most likely going to believe it the first time around. You know, you got to really think about whether you want to make those statements and you want to rely on that, because judges are just very cynical for the most part, because they've heard it all. They've heard people misrepresenting things or lying. So don't be kind of lumped into that. You're much better off just really trying to describe very accurately what you do. But if you're able to do a few things that kind of look like work, that's usually not a very good sign. So again, that should maybe dictate what your behavior is while you're waiting for your hearing as well. But again, these are things to talk to your attorney about, and just to make sure that you are on the same page when the attorney asks you what you're doing, so you can answer that truthfully, but doing so in a way it doesn't really hurt you. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful. This is Jonathan Ginsberg. Any questions? Let me know. Thanks a lot.